Good morning, good afternoon, good night, or whenever you're listening to this podcast. I'm Alex, here with the Ascending Thoughts podcast, the first edition. And I'm here joined with the creator of Ascending Thoughts blog, Russ Allen. And today we're going to be talking to you about a few things. So we're testing out the format of our new podcast here. So
bear with us.
Yeah, so if we're absolutely terrible at this whole podcasting radio thing, don't let us know because we'll probably already know it. So a few things kind of highlighting our day on the podcast today. I'm introducing you all. Didn't need to know that, but that's okay. I'm introducing you all. Y'all
That's what's happening right now, in case you haven't figured that out.
This is happening right now. Russ is going to address our question of the week, which is super exciting, but I'm not going to spoil that one yet. We're going to have an author interviewed by Reed Alioth.
Oh
my!
Yeah,
I just
man, you
name.
better get that right.
Hold on.
Alioth.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
So Reed Alioth, everybody. So we're going to have him joining the podcast at some point. Russ is going to address one of my favorite posts from the last, I guess, month or so. Jesus saved me from being an introvert or extrovert. Fantastic read on that one. Then I'm going to talk about most popular on the web, another great article from the Gospel Coalition on God blesses messy people. Looking forward to that one. And then we're going to tackle new articles every week. We're going to talk about that one, some of the upcoming stuff for the week.
Stuff you can kind of look for.
And then that will be us this week, guys.
Yep.
So I'm going to let Russ take it from here.
Cool. All right. So, I thought it would be interesting to kind of sort of open up the show with a question that I often hear a lot as a youth leader. But I think it's a question that, we ask ourselves, everyone kind of asks themselves as Christians. But I, like I said, I seem to hear it particularly among the youth. And it's not an easy question to answer, but I thought we'd kind of give it our best shot. And the question is, how do I know if I'm saved? So have you ever asked yourself that question?
Yeah.
I don't you still ask it, don't you? You still question it.
Yeah. There's some days that I'm just like, Lord,
maybe after
saved?
this you'll be like, oh crap, man, maybe I need to ask Jesus in my heart again. But it is, it's a common question. And there's a few things that I would kind of start off, I would kind of, contextualize. And the first one is, it's probably a good sign if you're asking that question, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So just the fact that you're concerned with your salvation is a good thing. Something else that I also find interesting is, like I said, it seems to pertain more to like the younger people. And I've often wondered if maybe there's something kind of inherent in young people where you kind of want to fit in with the group, like you see that, kids are often forming cliques in, middle school, high school. And so I wonder if, that has something to do with that kind of train of thought. Like, am I in, you know what I mean? Am I in the group? How can I know if I'm in? I don't know if does that make sense? Maybe it's just something interesting to think about, I think with.
Yeah, I absolutely think that makes sense. I think one thing that I've always thought of, when teenagers especially are conceptualizing whether or not they're saved, is kind of the idea of they're still forming their identity. Like they might not even know who they are, and so trying to establish that identity, they're trying to figure out, what is my identity in Christ? Am I saved? What is this thing called being saved? I don't know if I'm even doing it right.
Yeah. Yes. So I definitely think that might be part of it. And that's one thing that I would kind of caution is, what is the motivation for even asking the question? Is it just to be in the clique? Is it just to be, on the inside, in the know, so to speak? Or is it really a genuine concern for wanting to be with God, loving God and wanting to be with him for eternity, which is obviously the better motivation. So
right, yeah, and I know anytime that I've questioned, my own salvation, I had to, a lot of teenagers, if they're saved when they're young, they kind of go through that process. And I know a lot of times when I was going through that process, I was really kind of honing in and like, okay, who is this Jesus guy? And am I like on that path to becoming more like him?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to a book that I read, probably late teens.
Yeah.
Probably 18 or 19. It was called Imitating Christ. And it really kind of challenged whether or not like I was in that faith enough to be, you know, be saved. But it was more of a challenge to kind of rectify that, you know, and, you know, we all would go through those youth days of, you know, 16 are like, oh yeah, it's cool to go to youth group's so cool.
Yeah, man.
You know, and then you get caught up in the motions of doing youth group, and you don't think, oh, who's this Jesus that I serve?
Yeah. And sometimes I think part of it is like, almost like, am I doing enough? You know, there's sometimes that works salvation aspect to it. You know, am I doing enough to know that I'm saved? And so you know, you want to just kind of take a stab at this? I thought it would be interesting just to kind of think about it. And so one thing that I often say to people that ask me this and students is I actually kind of flip it around on them. And I ask them, how do you know if you're alive?
Okay.
How do you know if you're, so Alex, how do you know that you're alive right now?
Oh, shoot. You know, this brings a lot of, you know, questions like the Matrix, but, you know, how am I alive? My heart's beating, my brain's functioning, my eyes are, that's probably not a great one, but like,
yeah.
You know,
your eyes are working. You can see things, you can feel things.
Yeah. I mean, like I have all of the like, you know, exterior qualities that make me know that I can process things, that I'm alive, and, you know, but yeah,
exactly. And so maybe you know where I'm going with this. So in John 3, Jesus is talking to, I believe it's Nicodemus.
Okay.
Am I right? Yeah. And he basically asks, you know, how can I be saved? And Jesus tells him, he's like, you have to be born again.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you see where I'm going?
I'm
so like,
so
the question is, Jesus relates spiritual life to physical life. So if you can figure out how you know that you're alive physically, you can parallel that to how do you know that you're alive spiritually, right? And so you getting this?
Right. Yeah. And C.S. Lewis even goes into that, like when he talks about in Mere Christianity, when he talks about, you know, finding Christ and being born again in Christ is the new evolution of man.
Yeah.
Like it's it's that extension beyond what it is to be a human, and you know, going from there and extending and becoming like this new flesh, like Christ said.
Right. So let's just go through maybe a couple of these things. Like, if you're physically alive, you know that you have a birthday, right? You may not be able to necessarily recollect the exact day, but there are people there that witnessed it. You know that there was a day that you were born.
Right.
Okay. When you're a believer, you know that there was a day that you were born again, right? When you chose Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you're able to kind of look back on that time. One of the things that you mentioned was you're able to see, right?
Okay.
And you know, spiritually, are you able to see spiritually? Are you able to you know, sense God's presence? Are you able to feel? You know, do you feel pain? Does sin hurt you? You know, things like that.
Interesting.
I think are interesting to think about. The other thing is, you know, when you were born, you didn't do work to be born, right? I hope not.
Yeah.
You know, like you were just born. Yeah. It just kind of happened. And so, you know, spiritually, you didn't do any work to be saved. You know, you chose God, but it was God's presence in your heart that made you choose Him, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so there's all these kind of parallels. So those are just a few. I actually wrote an article a while ago you can check out on our blog that goes through a few more of those. But I just thought that was an interesting way to kind of think about the question. How do you know if you're saved? Well, how do you know if you're alive?
Right. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Absolutely. And going through those sensory kind of things, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah. So what's the title of that blog? So our listeners.
I believe it's called "Am I a Christian?"
Am I a
Christian? So you can check that out. I think it's in our archives if you go through there.
Yeah. So go check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds like we need to.
And the other thing is, man, like if you're not able to see well, or okay, you've had some problems with your hearing, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. One of my ears hardly works.
And so you went to the doctor and you were concerned with that, and you're trying to get yourself back to where you're 100%, with everything. That's kind of the ideal. And so you think about like the Bible, where when we read the Bible, when we look at the Bible, and God speaks to us through that, that's like going to a doctor's checkup.
Right.
Like you're able to look. It's like looking at a reflection in the mirror, is what it says, and you're able to examine yourself. The Bible tells you to examine yourself, right? To test yourself. And so when you look at that, you should be able to read, how you should be living, right, through the Holy Spirit, and see what parts of you are not working spiritually.
Right.
Maybe you're not hearing God like you should. Maybe you're not as sensitive to sin as you should be.
Right.
And so those are all things that you should be kind of thinking about, right?
Yeah, and those are all things that I was thinking of as we were talking about this. We think of falling back in our faith as like some sort of death to ourselves. It's not. It's merely an unhealthy relationship with Christ, or that we weren't actually born again. Mm-hmm. So it's asking all these questions that maybe point to maybe an unhealthy relationship with Christ, that our body that our spirit, whatever have you, whatever metaphorical thing. I don't have the wherewithal right now to break that one down.
There you go.
With some sort of cogent exegesis. So we're going to leave that one at that. But, we're going to get at the overall thing. Like, maybe your spirituality isn't as healthy as it should be. So you're getting these signs and you're asking the right questions, and you're going and getting that addressed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are all valid things. So, you may be asking, am I saved? But what you're really asking is, am I healthy with Christ?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think it also, so that's one way to look at it, is the am I alive? How do I know I'm alive? The other one is the more sort of generic answer that you might hear from pastors and so forth. And that is, and it is the truth that the Holy Spirit is sort of your guarantee of your salvation. And that's what God, that's what Jesus promised us when he was on the earth. He actually said it would be better that he leaves and that the Spirit would come. And so that is sort of the down payment, you could say, of the eternity that we're going to have, is the Holy Spirit. So when we can be assured of our salvation when we see the fruits of the Spirit in our life, and those in an increasing increment, I think, as you live. Like, you're always going to have your ups and downs. So, like, the way I like to think about it, the way I explain it to people, is that you're going to have ups and downs. So if you think of like a chart, your life is going to go like this, okay?
Right.
But if you were to draw a line through it, the line is going to be at an upward trajectory, So you're going to have ups and downs, but as you go throughout, it's going to continue. You're going to continue to become more Christ-like, and that's what they call theologically sanctification, which is a big theological term. But that's what they mean, is that you're continuously becoming more Christ-like. You're exhibiting the fruits of the Spirit, sort of as you go through your life, despite your downfalls and your imperfections, because you're imperfect. But the Spirit is our foretaste, you could even say, of heaven, which is really neat.
Yeah, that is really neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can use those low points in that kind of graph that you're talking about, as a trajectory, or as trampoline. We'll just bring it to a trampoline.
Sure. Yeah.
To bounce up to those high points.
Yeah.
Trajectory to
exactly. And that's something that you might be touching on later with the article from the Gospel Coalition. Talks a little bit about being messy, kind of being imperfect. The last thing that I would say about this, and hopefully we'll be able to get Reed on the phone here soon, is I don't want to be the one to tell you if you're saved or not. I think that gets dangerous, and people have always struggled. Like, you go back to the Puritans. I was a history major. I studied the Puritans, and that's always the assurance of salvation has always been a question that people have. I believe that the Bible says that we can be assured of our salvation, like I said, because of the Holy Spirit. But as me looking at someone, I don't want to necessarily judge their salvation, right? And I know that's a little bit of a touchy subject, but what I would say is that I would always you're saved by Christ once for all time, right?
Right.
But that saving, once you're saved, is a continual process of being saved daily and taking up your cross daily, right? So in other words, when you answer the question, "Am I saved?" don't just answer it yes and then move on.
Right.
You know, am I saved? But am I bound to it? Am I becoming Christ? Like, am I taking up my cross and preaching the gospel to yourself daily? And so when I would try to help someone, or what I would say to them is I would preach the gospel to them, whether I believe they're saved or they're not saved. I think that everyone needs the gospel, you know?
Right. Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, I honestly think that that's the best approach is, you know, kind of binding yourself to the gospel message and letting that be your sort of rallying cry every single day. And I believe that that's how we grow.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's not your rallying cry, then, you know, you might really need to ask those questions to make sure that you are displaying those healthy qualities, you know, of a healthy relationship with Christ. So all good things to consider.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we'll move on. But if any of you listening have a question that you'd like for us to answer, you can feel free to comment on the video, comment on one of our pages. You could also email us at ascendingthoughts1 at gmail.com.
The number one.
Yes, ascendingthoughts1 at gmail.com. Just put podcast question kind of in the subject heading and go ahead and post your question in the body. And we'll do our best to try to answer that maybe, you know, in an upcoming episode.
We might even do that on the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Podcast.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it straight here.
Yeah, not even through an email.
Not even through email.
Directly
we will
through
do
the
it
podcast,
so everyone can hear. Yes, but we will not mention your name if you do not want. People knowing if you know.
We'll give you a nice name like
a weird
Steve.
question or something.
Unless your name's Steve, then we'll name you Bob. Unless your name's Bob, then you know.
Hey, we'll come up with something.
Sturmybert.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see if can we get Reed Alioth on the phone?
Alioth.
Wait, how many times am I gonna mess this up?
Reed Alioth.
Alioth, and I totally thought I had it right. Reed Alioth.
All right. It looks like So Reed is on his way to Atlanta right now. I believe he's doing an internship down there for the summer. But I think he's landed, and we will see if we can give him a call here and hopefully get things situated.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so in the meantime, as we try to get a hold of him, I want to try to make sure I keep getting his name right. Alioth, yeah, got it. So let's see if we can get him here. He's in my least favorite airport of all time.
Hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Hey,
what's up,
Reed,
Reed?
what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. So, how was your flight, dude?
Oh, it's good. I'm just in Atlanta right now. Trying to get on all these trains and stuff they got down here, but I'm doing well, man.
Oh, dude, I know it's probably the worst airport of all time. That's my least.
Do you want to introduce? You probably don't know who's talking to you right now.
Sorry, yeah, Reed. I am Alex Boggs. You might not have seen me, but I'm one of Russ's buddies down here. I'm the weightlifting dude.
Yeah, he's my weightlifting friend.
Yeah. I'm the only one that stuck with him for 2.5 years. So.
Hey, man. Hey, we're gonna ask you a couple questions. We know you have an article coming out this upcoming week. I was able to go in and proofread it. I thought it was really awesome. And so we'd like to kind of get your thoughts on it and maybe get a little bit more detail about your experience abroad. Thought that would be cool for you to share.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and just like give a brief synopsis of it, like the title and all that, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So basically the article was called Destroying Your Theological Safe Spaces. And my hope and kind of like vision for the article was just, if you read it, it's based a lot on my time in China. And just that over there, being outside of this kind of, as I go into the article a little bit, bubble, if you will, or always being around people that are Christians, or just living within that kind of a community, really got a different sense when I went over to China, and not just their culture, and obviously the Eastern philosophy, Buddhism and things like that all around, but also just the other Americans that I was with while I was in China, not being Christians and coming from just, crazy different backgrounds like that, just really gave me just a different sense of kind of my faith walk. So, yeah, for me it was just an eye-opening experience, and I felt for me like, man, I just felt this was so impactful to get outside, to really interact with these people, like I'm saying. And that's just really my goal, and that's what I wanted to share in the article a little bit. So.
What would you say was like the craziest thing that happened over there to you? Doesn't have to be super Christian. It could be anything, man. What's one thing that stands out?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing I would say would be just being able to be on the Great Wall of China, and just generally like getting to kind of sleep out on the wall. Like I still got a video on my phone of me taking my first steps on the wall, and it was surreal, man. I couldn't believe it. Went to the completely most wild section of the wall, never been restored or anything like that.
Wow.
And so yeah, it just was so awesome being out in that nature, thinking like, wow, people thousands of years ago built this, and out here I am walking around, even sleeping and camping on it. So that for me was just, that was unbelievable for sure.
Yeah. Wow, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of like one of the experiences that I had. Nowhere near as old as the stuff in China, but I got to go into a 12th century church and a 15th century castle, and the castle is now a museum, and it's phenomenal to see all that stuff still standing and structurally sound. Mm-hmm. And then the Great Wall of China is even older than that. Thousands and thousands a year. Was it at least 2,000 or 3,000?
I can't remember. Like that. I don't know.
My ancient history is not great.
Hey, Reed, can you tell us a bit about? Weren't you able to go into some, or you snuck into some kind of temple or something?
Yeah.
Was
was
that right?
Yeah, that was. So I was in this city, and that was close to Shanghai by train, maybe about 30-ish minutes or so. And anyway, so me and my friend were there, and we were walking around this good place that they had there. So we were looking on Apple Maps, and we thought, this looks like a cool place to check out. And yeah, it was just what you think. It was, it's a temple or whatever, but it was kind of a discreet building. Couldn't really see, any kind of religious symbols or anything on top to denote that that's what it was. And so anyway, we ended up just kind of walking into this place and seeing all these humongous, looking like Genghis Khan looking dudes on big podiums and platforms and stuff, and it was all their Buddhist gods there, and like I said, like Genghis Khan, So anyway, we started walking around, and I'm thinking, like, this was not what I signed up for here. We're getting some new books.
Getting too deep into it, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to go and check out the culture, but it's another thing to suddenly become the poster child for Buddhism.
Genghis Khan still got all those descendants all over Europe, man, or not Europe, Asia.
Yeah, man, they might be coming after you here, man.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. Well, my picture's on the most wanted list right now, so that's why I left. I was going to say, but...
Oh, man. That's funny, dude.
That was a crazy experience. But, I mean, lots of big temples like that where, you just walk around. And that was, speaking about that, that was one of the craziest things, too. And I know Russ and I had talked about this before, but, like, reading my Bible, Old Testament, thou shalt not bow down to idols, and things like that. You read that, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And I think in the West we think, well, that's more of a heart thing. It's okay, I don't want to be worshiping this idol of money, or we say like career or whatever. And then you go there and you see actual people bowing down to actual idols, and you think, well, yeah, that's all great, and I agree we shouldn't be doing those things. But then you see this, and you're like, wow, puts it in a whole new context. This is like what they really meant when they said that. So I don't know. It was fascinating for me to see that there.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's crazy, man. Cool experience though. Cool stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there something that you learned that you're kind of coming back with that you feel like you can really use and apply to your life now? You know, like what's kind of changed in you now? Like, is there anything different?
yeah, I think, like, and again, this goes back to being with just people that I think don't know what it means to be Christian, or just have never really had that experience of just any kind of faith in general. Because I think before I went over there, I would have said about people like, and again, this just goes back to what I write an article about, always constantly be surrounded by people that, let's say even if they claim they're not Christian, they've at least, gone to a Sunday school, or they kind of generally know from being at some kind of churchy newsletter saying what it means to be a Christian. So they don't have a lot of questions, but I think being with non-Christians for so long and living life in a tough place where you have to rely on those people because nobody else is speaking English and everybody's totally different. It's hard to communicate. Is that I think I got a new perspective, and I think what I mean by that is before I'd gone, I think it's easier when you're interacting with Christians to say like, oh man, I can see the fruit of the Spirit in your life in this way, or God's really giving you this powerful gift in this way, and stuff like that. And I think what changed for me having gone was suddenly it became, wow, like this person, they became a believer, like this gift that they have is being able to reach different people and stuff is just awesome. And that's why I really want to see them, come to faith, and I want to talk to them about faith because they have so many big gifts that, they could definitely be used for His purposes. And I think that was kind of the difference there, was that everybody has abilities, even if they're not saved. I think that's kind of a cool thing about being in that sort of situation. You start to see that and realize that, and start to kind of get on fire because you're like, this person could be used for so much, and God could really use that person a lot. And you can see that. So I think that's for sure a big lesson. Going forward right now, I'm going to definitely keeping it. That was profound, and that really hit me.
Yeah.
So
That's cool, man. So just the whole idea of becoming more missional in your mindset, when you're exposed to that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great point, dude. I think that's something that you can take with you, and I know it's something that I took with me, going and seeing all this different stuff and, using that to expand my faith. It's all good stuff. But I think you got another flight to catch here in a few minutes, don't you?
Yeah, I got about 20 more minutes. So.
Okay, well, we'll let you kind of gear down for that and get ready to catch that next flight. Yeah. So we appreciate you, man. Appreciate you being on with us and talking to us for a few minutes and expanding on what you talked about in your blog and what people can look forward to this week.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you later. All right.
All right.
Man. Here. Yep. Take care.
See you, man.
Yep. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
And that was Reed Alioth.
Oh, Alioth. Come on, Alex.
It's like at this point, y'all think I'm just messing it up on purpose. And I swear it's not.
Yeah.
Reed.
That is Reed Alioth.
Reed Alioth.
Say it with me. Reed Alioth. There you go.
I need hooked on phonics for names.
But yeah, you can check out Reed's article. It's coming out on Thursday. Go to our website, ascendingthoughtsblog.wordpress.com, and that will be up. You can read more. Reed is an awesome guy, and I'm excited to, read more of his things.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that he got to go and do that experience and have that experience in China. Mm-hmm. And it's a much different. It's similar, but it's so different from what I got to experience in Germany because, you have a postmodern Christian culture that has the vestiges of Christianity. They celebrate the, high Christian holidays that I don't even think about. Mm-hmm. I think the first week that I was in Germany, they shut down almost all the marketplaces and grocery stores and restaurants. Yeah, because it was Easter. It was Easter weekend, and I was like, okay, even America doesn't do this. I'm hungry, guys. Yeah. I'm really hungry.
Dang,
I don't
man.
have.
They're trying to starve you. That's not Christian.
Yeah,
That's
that was
ridiculous.
not very Christian. So it's definitely a postmodern view of Christianity. Celebrate the high holy days, but forget what it is to be like Christ.
It's religion, right?
Yeah,
It's religion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's really what it is. I was kind of joking about it a little bit, but I mean, like, that's really what it is. But again, there are some very, very deeply rooted people in their
Heartfelt.
faith.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
mean, it's still
absolutely.
there. It's just by and large, you see a lot of the people in the culture.
Yeah.
They don't engage with it as much.
Absolutely.
But definitely a lot of great things to glean from that. And Reed had some great points about China too. A lot of misconceptions that we may have, and a little bit, drilling down into what's going on over there. So that's some really good stuff. I think on our next one, I don't know, Russ, do you agree with me? I think we'll go to the Ascending Thoughts Most Read of the Week. No, JK. Must read.
The must read?
The
Yeah.
must read instead of the most read.
The
most.
You're having some problems today, aren't you?
I'm having problems with words.
Yeah,
You
so we're
wouldn't
gonna
think that I'm in graduate school, but I am.
we're gonna go to our Ascending Thoughts must read of the week, and we're gonna try to do this kind of every week. And this week it just happens to be one of the articles that I wrote. I wrote it actually a couple weeks ago, but I kind of revamped it for this week too. And that was called "Jesus, Save Me from Being an Introvert," and then in parentheses, or extrovert. Are we having camera problems?
We may have had a camera problem.
That's
but
okay.
I think we can survive it. We will limp on with one for a few minutes.
So Jesus saved me from being an introvert or extrovert. And basically that came from me really thinking about the concept of personality. I think it's kind of a touchy subject with a lot of people. People are very defensive about their personality.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you start talking about introverts and extroverts. And one thing that I kind of realized is whenever you talk about your introversion or your extroversion, first of all, the fact that you even label it as something is an interesting concept. I don't know that we should necessarily label it. I think it's more on a scale, which most people will admit. But you tend to speak of your personality in fairly glowing terms. It's not that you're, if you are an introvert, it's not that you're quiet. It's that you don't talk a lot, or you
need me time.
You would rather listen than speak to people, or as if it's some kind of virtuous quality rather than even a flaw.
Right.
And
we've had conversations like this a lot.
Yeah, sure. And it's something that I really started to think about and tried to critique in myself. Like, okay, I'm an introvert, but and I am very much an introvert. You'll attest to that. Like, I am the classic introvert.
Yeah. Russ is a classic introvert, and I am like an extroverted introvert. People don't believe that I'm an introvert.
Everyone
but dude, I love
says you're extroverted, but it's the whole how do you get your energy kind of deal.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
But anyways,
yeah, it's a scale.
Yeah, it is a scale. Anyways, I started to think, if we're sinners and we are flawed people, that means that all of us is flawed, including our personality.
Yeah.
And I think that we should examine ourselves and be able to see our personality and critique our personality and even our introversion or our extroversion. And I know one thing with me is that I do tend to not do well in crowds. I tend to not do well with making small talk with people. And when I look at Jesus in the Bible, he's not like that, and I want to be like Jesus. And that's something that it's hard to do. It's because it goes against my nature, right? Because I am introverted. But I think it's something that I need to work on. It's something that I need to improve on is I need to practice and to get better at making small talk with people. Because when you look at Jesus, going up to the woman at the well and, these different scenarios, he's like an expert at it.
Yeah.
He doesn't hesitate. He's not afraid. He's confident, and he goes for it. And he does it with purpose. He makes small talk, but he does it with a purpose to get somewhere important and to reveal something about himself. And he would go to parties, so to speak, and he's obviously mingling with people. Like, his goal is to get to know people and to form relationships with people. And that's something that I don't do well and I need to get better at. And Yeah. So that's me personally. That's kind of where that came from. Was there anything that caught your eye with that, what I wrote there, or personal for you?
Yeah, honestly, it's it's for the introvert thing with me. And I don't have problems with as much like going up to random people. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's hit or miss.
Depends who it is. Huh?
It depends who it is, and it depends. It depends what I need.
Yeah.
If it's to ask a random question at the gym, yeah, I can totally do that. But if it's like something, that's serious, or if it's something that I can't think of an agenda or think of a reason to talk to somebody other than just to be kind or whatever. It's a lot harder for me to do that. I do a little bit better with the small talk just because I am slightly more extroverted than Russ. But honestly, it's me getting outside of that comfort zone, because I would use my introversion as a crutch. And that's the biggest thing, because I know I can go and do these things if I want to, and if I allow myself to be used by God. It's just, I get trapped into saying, "Oh, well, I'm an introvert. That's not my ministry."
Yeah, you use it as an excuse, right? Yeah, exactly.
And it's totally an excuse. And that's one thing that I realized reading through that article. I'm like, I just use my introversion as an excuse. Introvert or not, I can't say that souls aren't worth winning.
Yeah.
I can't say that a life's not worth caring about.
Yeah. Like I think I wrote in the article, it's a trap that we fall into that's prevalent in our society, where we say, that's just who I am, and then that's our excuse. And you can use that. You can think about that at many different levels, but especially, with our personality.
Yeah. And I think, Reed's article, it's not necessarily touching on it, but touches on an idea that I think is very important. We used to hear things about getting outside of our comfort zones. Brandon Heath, I think back in the day, had a song about getting outside of a comfort zone. I can't remember what it is for the life of me.
I'll trust you on that one. I have no idea.
It's something. It was a song, and I think Brandon Heath did it. I think
Google
I could all people out there in radio podcast land, Google that and tell me that I'm wrong, because I have no problems being wrong. Anyway, so we talked, and that was like, oh gosh, like maybe the late 2000s. But we were talking about getting outside of that comfort zone, and it was very much a part of that movement in that late 2000s period, that we're getting outside of these comfort zones, being radical in our faith, going and doing things for people. But I think something happened in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years or something, that we have chosen to cloister ourselves and even in the church value a safe space of, we can do ministry from here, but we're not doing ministry from anywhere else.
Yeah, because we're not good at doing that,
right,
so we shouldn't even try, which is not necessarily wrong all the time, but we tend to, if that's too pervasive in our mind, then it can become a hindrance.
Right,
and if that's our go-to. Yeah.
And then Jesus says in Matthew 25, I think it's Matthew 25. Again, Google it or look in your Bibles, sword drill. That. It's the parable of the sheep and the goats, that, he says to them, hey, you got me food or drink. You saw this random person, I'm going to kind of paraphrase it real quick. You saw a random person, that was me. And if you got that person food or drink, you were doing it unto me. Yeah. And if you didn't, you were also not doing it unto me. So it's kind of this kind of dual layer thing, go feed people, go give people drink, go care for their needs, visit them in prison, all of these things he's asked us to do. But if we stay cloistered and walled behind our own places, we don't reach those people. And if at the end of the day we don't have a heart for the lost, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So
well said, man.
Thanks, man.
Well, you can go check that article out. That's in our archives. Go to our the blog, go to articles, and scroll down a bit. You'll be able to find it there. Again, that is called "Jesus Saved Me from Being an Introvert or Extrovert." And
if
so,
you have any thoughts on being an extrovert, hey, add those to it. Send it to us.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
I did. There's definitely I did try to mention a few in there. As far as Jesus going to pray alone, having that quality time, meditation time, which is something that extroverts is difficult for them often.
Yeah.
So there, definitely, we'd love to hear some more thoughts on that. But now, turn it over to Alex. What was catching your eye this week?
Yeah. We'll kind of touch on this one pretty quick, so we can kind of move on a little bit.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time with other stuff, but most popular on the web this week, God blesses messy people. and that came from the Gospel Coalition. Eric Raymond wrote that. This kind of stuck out as me because I am one of those messy people. My walk in faith, sometimes it's been a lot better than other times. It's kind of like Russ said, you have the ups and downs, but what's that trajectory? We talked about that earlier in the show, but he talks about a couple of examples from Genesis where Isaac is passing Rebecca off as his sister, and it's not the first time that happened. Abraham had done it twice, I think. Yeah. Twice. And, I'm going through the book of Genesis right now, and I keep saying to these boneheads, I'm like, dude, what are you doing that for?
Yeah. Like father, seriously? Like son, right?
Man. Yeah. Come on. And I'm on the stories of Jacob right now. So, I mean, like, TBD, let's see what Jacob does. Spoilers.
Maybe will he learn from his
father's mistakes? Tune in next week. But no, if you look at the disciples, they're all messy people. Peter was an absolute mess. Thomas, probably one of my favorite disciples, doubts Jesus, because he cares so, and I contend that he cared so deeply that he couldn't live without Jesus being in his life. So he had trouble trusting, and that could be a whole series there. But how many times do we just not get this Jesus thing right? And that kind of can really go back to, how do you know if you're saved? I think that's one of the things we can tie into that too. For me personally, I've dealt with so many issues in my life that, being that messy person, sometimes it doesn't feel like I'm being close to Jesus when I'm in that season. But, God didn't make his love conditional. God made his love for the good times and the bad, and Russ and I just witnessed a couple of our dear friends get married this weekend. That's one of those times you think you get to reflect on love. And I think this is ultimately what the article, for me, it was saying. You think about your friends unconditionally loving their spouse, and the way they love that spouse, if they're believers, is they look to that love from Jesus to be able to express that love.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's working through the tough times. It's working through the good times, the bad times, the confident times, the insecure times, and saying at the end of the day, hey, I chose you and I'm staying by you.
Yeah. And that's what God does.
Yeah.
And the article is it's great. Talks about, like you're saying, one of the things that stood out to me is that, it's easy to love someone when they do good things, but love is made, and mercy and grace and all these good things are made more powerful when they're given to undeserving people and to imperfect people. I just think about that, with God and us, like how undeserving are we of his love? We really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our perfections magnify God's grace and his goodness. And so when we are going through struggles, even self-inflicted struggles, we can use that to remind ourselves that even though we're struggling, even though we're going through tough times, that it can be a reflection of how good God is,
right?
And what he's done for us. And so, yeah.
I know this so clearly from my own life because when I first graduated college, I didn't really I kind of fell into the career that I thought I was supposed to go into, and ended up that not being where I needed to be. And God just took me down this path of leading me to Liberty, where I did my master's, and I ended up meeting my good friend Russ, and then moving on into this great season where I'm flourishing instead of floundering. And it was impossible for me to see God's goodness in that time, but he moved me into this period because he loved me that much.
He's faithful through all of it.
Yeah. So let's move on. We've got a few things coming up this week. And I think Russ wants to touch on a few of those things.
Yeah. We want to let you know what you can look for this week. So this is a big week for us. We are starting off with our contributors this week. So we have a lineup. So every single day this week, you are going to be able to read a new article from one of our contributors. We're really excited for that. So this week we have one of our good friends from the Men of Means, Aaron Donaghy, aka Freddie from the Men of Means. He's wrote a great article that'll be coming out on Tuesday, and it's about gluttony and how gluttony is not what you think it might be. So stay tuned for that. Kara Glynn is going to be writing this week, and so that should be really good. I haven't had a chance to read that yet. Like we mentioned, we had Reed Alioth on the show. Reed wrote a fantastic article, and then our buddy, my partner in crime right here, Alex Boggs, is coming out with an article that will be out on Friday. So stay tuned.
That one should be a dope.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
It's good, man. It's good. So we won't give too much away yet with that. We'll leave the viewers in suspense a little bit.
Bum bum bum.
But yeah, and so stay tuned for the articles. Stay tuned for the Men of Means podcast. They're doing a great job. You can check them out on Facebook and all their other social media outlets, SoundCloud, whatnot. So yeah, things are happening here. We're really excited for it, and it's just been really cool to see how things are coming together, and how God's really been blessing us with this.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to Aaron's article next week. That gluttony article sounds really good.
Yeah,
Kara's obviously got a good one because we have the most legit people on our team.
They are legit, man.
Yeah, they are legit.
They are awesome.
So,
all stars.
So yeah, we're probably tremendously over where we had initially thought we were going to be on time today.
We're rolling.
We're rolling with it and enjoying everything while we're doing it. So if you want to reach us, please email us at ascendingthoughts1 at gmail.com. If you want to check us out on the web, please do. Check out our blog on the web. That is ascendingthoughtsblog.wordpress.com. .wordpress.com. We'll put that in somewhere. We'll throw that into
We'll make it easy on you.
Yeah. So Twitter, we're on Twitter at Ascending Thoughts.
It's ascend_thoughts because ascending thoughts didn't fit.
Yeah, of course. Twitter always has
_thoughts.
Ascend_thoughts. That's our Twitter handle. We're on Instagram. Ascending Thoughts.
Yep.
Okay. So y'all are getting the pattern here. Yep. Hopefully we're getting this up soon. Oh, we also have a YouTube channel. So that's Ascending Thoughts video, probably.
I think it's just Ascending Thoughts.
Yeah, just look up Ascending Thoughts. Just look up Ascending Thoughts.
You'll find us. Go to our blog, and we have links.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to do it.
So I'll repeat that one: ascendingthoughtsblog.wordpress.com. That's the key one. Anything else you can Google, then look for our beautiful/ugly mugs. So what it is, what you make of it.
Which one's the beautiful?
I don't know.
Come on.
All right, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. Tune in next week for the mysterious conclusion to what we think of the blogs.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Adios.